Welcome to Growth Matters Podcast. My name is Justice. We talk about business, technology, and personal growth and development. So enjoy, sit back, and relax. The Growth Matters Podcast covers many elements such as how we can grow in faith, family, finances, and friendships. Today's episode is talking about the benefits of having a bookkeeper. We have in the studio with us Kate Witteman, CEO and Balance Bookkeeping, LLC. Kate's career in financial services industry spans over 20 years, specializing in compliance and controls of books and records. Kate began her career in 2003 in oversight and reconciliations of accounts receivables, a company based in Atlantic City, New Jersey. After finishing her licensing and completing all 4 months, she was promoted to a senior branch controls manager of a Baltimore, Maryland branch. We're so happy to have Kate in the studio with us. Welcome, Kate, to Growth Matters Podcast.
Thank you, Justice. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and we're so glad to have you here today and talking with us about this important topic, the benefits of having a bookkeeper. If you just to kick it off, could you share a little bit more about your background beyond what you like to share, what I've introduced you today?
Sure. So my background focuses a lot on corporate financial controls, which is a little bit different than your average bookkeeping background. It was for 2 Fortune 50 companies where I did both on-site and on-site compliance, and then I traveled as an auditor.
Okay.
So I bring that into my everyday operations of bookkeeping, which I'm not sure if I mentioned or not. One of the things that I did do was, I started this business. I was raised by a bookkeeper. When I met my husband, he had a business that was really struggling. It was in a very volatile market. And, when you have any business that grows extremely quick, and you go from 0 to 60 very fast, you need to really pay attention. And unfortunately for him, his business grew so rapidly and was so fast, and then the entire market shifted that it left him in a really tight spot. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of when I realized, if I ever left the corporate financial controls, that's a really good way to apply the skills. And bookkeeping is a lot about, being methodical, paying attention to detail, categorizing things the right way, making sure everything's on the up and up. And seeing him struggle and have the problems that he had because his books weren't where they needed to be is what led me into bookkeeping. And it's great. We definitely agree with you. There's a lot of benefit to bookkeeping, and it's an important topic that I think, like a lot of things, finance isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
Money, people don't like to talk about money. They talk about just about anything else, but they don't like to talk about money. But it's an important conversation.
That is so true, so true. And I'm so glad you said that, because could you share what's the typical scope of services of a bookkeeper's offer?
Sure. They run the gauntlet. It depends upon a few factors. Obviously, the size of your business and what your needs are, to what you can afford. I see bookkeepers do everything from, I also, with our firm, we have a few clients where all we do is really check their work. They go in, they code all their transactions, how they think they're supposed to go. They're smaller businesses. Sometimes they're solopreneurs, or maybe just 1 or 2 employees. And we'll go in and we will go into their QuickBooks file. We'll make sure everything's coded correctly. We will reconcile. Reconciling is something that everybody thinks they do, but at the end of the day, most people don't do. It's taking your bank account statements and actually physically going into your accounting software and checking off the transactions to make sure there's no duplicates and things like that. So you start with, those are the basics, right? Just checking someone's work, making sure everything's coded the right way. And it goes all the way through to clients that we have where we process accounts payable, receivable. I have a client every Wednesday I visit and I print the checks for him to sign and mail. We have other clients where we use platforms that do online bill pay. And we send them an email and say, hey, here's your bills. What do you want us to pay this week? And we do all of it. We literally, I have clients that do not even log into their QuickBooks. We send them all of their reports, everything. We raise our hand when we have questions. We help them with receipt management. So it's like I said, it depends upon the size of your business, how much time and effort you want to put into your own bookkeeping. and then also what your budget would be. There's bookkeepers, I think, for every step of your way. I know bookkeepers that work specifically with startups.
Oh,
and then,
okay.
we have companies up to $20 million a year.
Great. Oh. So what sort of credentials does a bookkeeper have or would need?
So there's not a whole lot of consistency when it comes to bookkeeping. I come to bookkeeping with a history of just job experience and a lot of accounting classes at school. I come where I had all my FINRA licensing, which is, for folks listening, it's your stockbroker's license, your Series 7, your 24, your 53. So I come from a financial world. I was, where you're looking at reports. I've taken a lot of other additional certifications and things like that. There's a few, you can get an accountant's degree. Some of them will have masters in accountants. You will find people that say they're QuickBooks certified. I am certified in QuickBooks, but that's a misconception. It's not a certification as a bookkeeper. It's a certification as knowledgeable in that particular product. So yes, congratulations, you're a QuickBooks Pro Advisor. You can navigate QuickBooks, which is good. And it's half the battle, but it's not the whole battle because there's more to it than just knowing where to click inside a program. So I think that's probably one of my frustrations with my field is there isn't a whole lot of, it's not like the accountant field where you have CPAs, or in the financial world where you have registered advisors and CFOs and things that they get specific certifications. In the bookkeeper world, it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, which is definitely why you want to be cautious when you're hiring a bookkeeper to make sure that they do have experience, because experience is really important in bookkeeping. It's really, really important.
So there's definitely a level of expertise difference between a generalist or a specialist.
100%. And especially with fields. So you have a couple different industries that you really do want someone who focuses on that. With our firm, we have a lot of different clients. I like the variety. I have a few restaurants. I have a few distributors. I have a few solopreneurs. We have folks that lot of service-based businesses. But when it comes to things like contracting, like a general contractor, you're going to want to look in the construction industry. You're going to want to look for somebody that has a significant amount of experience, because there's a lot of moving parts on construction projects. You're bidding, there's progress payments and all that. And it's a specialty. Nonprofits is also one where you do want someone who has an idea. Depending upon the size of your nonprofit, you may want to go with someone whose service is exclusive to nonprofits, just because, again, just like contracting, there's a lot of special, things that need to be attributed within your books.
So basically, you're saying you would definitely advise businesses to get, people who are bookkeepers that hire specific industry specific, then, such as construction, nonprofits, whatever.
The average bookkeeper should be capable of service-based businesses. We have a few businesses that have inventory, so we have a few stores and online platforms. Those are also a little bit trickier, because if you're counting inventory, you want to have someone that has experience counting, with inventory, handling inventory on your books, because there's specific entries to make sure things flow the right way. And there's a lot of bookkeepers out there. So I think that it's really important to remember, if you're looking for one and you don't know if this one's the right fit, keep looking. There will be one that is.
Any kind of rule of thumb and when you're trying to find those? Because, you definitely want to have the right fit. Any suggestions there?
I hear Balanced Bookkeeping is a great firm. Is that okay? Can I plug myself? No. So I think personality is really, really important. I've walked away from potential business because I just didn't feel they're the right fit personality-wise. Because I do think, especially because of what we do, the service that we provide is very critical, right? So if you hire any outsourced support, if you bring in a CFO, a COO, or you're looking to grow your marketing, or you're looking to grow, your footprint, your staff, whatever it may be, you're thinking of investing in a building, all of these things are based on financial decisions. So you need to be comfortable with who is handling your checkbook. Really, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We're going in and we're making sure your checkbook is tidy for you. If you are not comfortable or don't feel that person is a good fit, I think that's a really important trust your gut kind of advice. Is if you meet somebody and they're great and you like them and you feel like they're going to be a good fit, go for it. If you're like, I don't really like talking to them, then you're not going to want to call them and ask them questions. It's really important to feel comfortable.
Okay. Given the times that we're living in now, with all the cybersecurity data breaches, and would you suggest asking a prospective bookkeeper what financial security measures they have in place to ensure digital security and personal privacy?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I think that's extremely important. Even more so because of my background in financial compliance. I'm a stickler. I use file share programs. I have, password vaults that we use. I think that it's extremely important to ask those questions because I have seen where, one of the biggest problems is people clicking on a link. It's the links that get you, right? When you get a suspicious spammy email and you're like, oh, what's this? And you click on it or you open up the attachment, that's when your computer gets. So asking what kind of protocols you have in place. Do you use a password protector? Yes, I use LastPass. That's the one we've used for a long time. There's a whole bunch of them out there that get really good ratings. We use two-factor authentication. It's required if you work for me. Background checks. Again, I come from the land of FINRA. I have no problem. I had a friend working for me for a while and I background checked her. I know her very well. She's been to my house at my table. And I was like, oh, great. Can you sign off on your background check, please? Those things are really important. Yeah. It's also important to ask about cyber insurance. We carry cyber insurance.
Oh, okay.
That is something that I would also recommend. And don't be afraid to ask about liability insurance. Standard errors and omissions insurance. Bookkeepers should have that. They should have general liability. They should have a cyber rider. Because, it's not that much money a month to have insurance. Like you don't drive your car without car insurance. Don't hire a bookkeeper that doesn't have insurance. If they make a mistake, if they get hacked, it's good to know that there is insurance there covering it. And you can easily ask for a certificate. I've only been asked for one or two.
Okay.
But people will ask if I have it, and I'm always happy to provide a certificate of insurance if they want it.
Oh, great. Now, that brings up another question. Who owns the data, and how do you make sure you keep your ownership of your data, if you're a small business or whatever? How did you...
Right. So, that's a really interesting question. And I've come across this with a few clients that we've onboarded where the previous bookkeepers have held the file. I don't do that. I refuse. I am a big proponent of it's your company, it's your data, right? It's not mine. We work for you. We provide a service for you, but I don't own those records. Those are yours. So a couple ways to go about it is to use a file share program. If you're in a desktop type of program like QuickBooks Desktop, you can use a file share program where it locks the file if someone else is in it. So you have QuickBooks on your computer. I have QuickBooks on mine. You own the file. I can go in and get the copy and work on it, but it's still your file. QuickBooks Online, I've seen this question come up a bunch in a Facebook group that I help monitor. And I always stand firm on my response, which is QuickBooks Online, you can invite a user in as an accountant. You should always ensure you are the primary admin on your QuickBooks Online file, Xero, whatever program you're using. Okay. You, as the business owner, want to have that. You want to invite your users in, be it someone to do, maybe you have someone on staff doing, accounts payable. Invite them in with those permissions. You have a bookkeeper, invite them in with the permissions they need. QuickBooks Online has a separate tab where you invite in an accountant user. So anybody that works with us invites us in as an accountant user. In the event I establish a QuickBooks file for you, it's a brand new QuickBooks file, I set you as the primary admin. It's not my file, it's yours. Same with anything that is compiled, right? So we use a couple programs to get receipts from clients that are great little apps on your phone. It's the best thing I ever did for my business. I get so much more paperwork that way. That, again, if we are no longer doing business, I transfer it to you. It's in my agreement that that these are not my files. I am merely someone working on them. They belong to you. We use, a share file, and you have access to it. And same thing, make sure that in your agreement it states that they have to return all data to you. I think that's really important.
Great.
Because it is your data, and you do need it. If you get audited and you can't provide all the receipts, and you had a bookkeeper 2 years ago and you can't get a hold of them, you're the one in trouble.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a very valid point, that to have in that agreement, make sure you have that.
Agreements are important. I used to be a little anxious about sending out, they like to use the term engagement letter in the bookkeeping world. It's a contract, really. That's what it is. My contract is a 30-day contract, right? You can cancel 30-day notice.
Okay.
But in my agreement, I have all these things written down. It says, here's what we do. You're responsible for keeping copies of your receipts. Like, all of that should be an agreement, and you should have one. It protects you if you have a contract. If something goes wrong or something happens, and hopefully it does, and hopefully you find an awesome bookkeeper and things are going great and you never have any hiccups.
Yeah.
But, it does happen. I see it. One of the reasons people come to us is we do a lot of cleanups. We're in the middle of one right now that's really just, it's been rough. It's been like, wow, I would not have done it that way. And the problem we're struggling with is, again, we don't have access to all the paperwork because they never gave it back.
Okay.
So make sure that's in an agreement somewhere.
Wow, that's very important, because if you, like you said, what if the IRS comes back asking you for information and you can't access it? What do you do? We use
the program we use for receipts. I offer it to everybody. Some people take us up on it, some don't. The reason why I love it so much is it is IRS approved for document storage. So it's there. You get receipts, you go to Staples and you buy something, those receipts fade. By the time you might have an audit 6 years from now, that receipt could be ineligible, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't read the receipt.
Yes.
Because it's faded over time. But if you there's a couple of really good programs out there. You have access to it. Your bookkeeper has access to it. It's saved in the event of an audit. You don't have a huge filing cabinet shoved full of receipts. Those are all things that are important.
Wow. Okay. That's very good information, because now, even with those receipts, do you want to have some backup data? Have for instance, an incident response plan. Say, for instance, your computer's crashed. Do you want to have that data backed up somewhere?
So that's actually a great question, Justice. So QuickBooks Online doesn't. They have multiple servers. They have tons of servers. They don't back up their data the way that we would want it. There are programs out there. And I do offer it. And if anybody wants me to run the program, I can. I just include it in the monthly fee where we get a backup copy. For me, for my size business, I print everything out. I have bank statements. I have my receipts somewhere else. So we're okay.
Okay.
But I think especially as your business grows, having a backup copy, because everything's online. So the beauty of what we do is it's becoming more and more user-friendly. But that also, again, goes back to the cyber insurance, opens you up for that kind of stuff. Making sure you have monthly reports, if nothing else, is really important. Great. Even if you don't have the detail, you could easily have it as one of the things that you ask them to do when they close the month is run a detailed general ledger for the month and save it in Excel.
Oh, great.
And then you have it if you need it.
Oh, so really, some bookkeepers, like say you have credentials in financing, you've taken training. Would you want to ask them for some of their information about their technical background as a bookkeeper, or get some references?
I would, but I never have problems asking questions.
Okay.
I was an auditor. It's what I do. Actually, I've had a few folks ask me for questions. I think it depends upon how you find your bookkeeper. It's like hiring an employee. Sometimes we get referred out. A lot of our business is referral business. So I'm coming to a new client from a client who's been using me for a while, and we have a really good relationship. Like, oh, you got to call Kate. Her and her team will take care of you.
Okay.
Those clients never seem to ask me for referrals. I have had people that have Googled me and said, hey, do you have any references? And I do have a few clients that I know I've already said, hey, if anybody ever asks for a reference, are you it? They're like, yeah, we're good. And I give out the names, and they can call. I have a non-disclosure agreement built into my contract, so I don't name names unless they tell me I can name names.
Okay.
Simply because, I come from the world of finance, right? That's what happens when you work for 2 Fortune 50 global finance companies. You're all about like, ooh, can't really talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to make sure that they know that their information's safe with us. We don't broadcast it. There's a few clients where everybody knows I do the books.
Okay.
They tell anybody that'll listen, I do the books. So.
That's good. Now, in doing it, I mean, is it on site? Sometimes is it off site? I mean, how does it work with a bookkeeper? It could be both, a hybrid.
It could be both. It could be all of the above. I think it goes back to the first question where it really depends upon your situation.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 clients currently where we actually go. I was at one today in Boston, and then tomorrow morning I'll go past the other.
Okay.
But otherwise, everybody that we work with is completely and totally online. The beauty is there are a lot of really great tools. I have a distributor, and every morning he gets up and he goes to the wholesalers. He delivers to restaurants, and every morning he's able to get all of his receipts and invoices for everything he did that day. He uploads it to Dex, and we have it, and we can work on it from there. But I went to a restaurant today. The restaurant's very paper heavy. That's just the nature of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Smaller restaurants, you probably have a better chance of getting people to use an app to scan it over to you.
Okay.
In this case, there's a ton of paperwork. I went today and I filled my little tote bag full of invoices from the last week. I go up to my office up there. I have a scanner. I scan it all in, but I can still remotely access my computer. It's a desktop client. So I think it's all in your situation. The client that I go see tomorrow morning, they just like paper checks. I tease them all the time about it. I tell them that it's 2024 and we can ACH no problem and they could save money on checks, but their vendors like checks, so they pay in checks.
Mm-hmm.
So every Wednesday I go and I print the checks. I grab stuff from my in bin. It takes me maybe, if I'm chatty, 45 minutes.
Okay.
It really depends upon how you operate as a business and what works best for you.
Okay.
Because there's bookkeepers out there. I know a few that love going on site. And then there's the rest of us where I love the flexibility. I'm able to get my son off the bus every day.
Yeah. Okay.
And still work.
That's right. That's right.
Still count that money.
That's it. That's important.
It is.
If you don't work, you don't eat, right?
That's right. Sorry, kid.
Should you ask your bookkeeper to describe their experience and comfort level with like PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle, since we're in that kind of world now?
Absolutely. So the biggest problem I see is that folks don't know how to handle these apps, and it's really important that you do. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, and I'm just going to say it for anybody that's listening, if you are using a Cash App, make sure you have a login as a business. Do not use your personal Venmo for your business. It is very simple. I have Venmo for my business. It took me all of, a minute and a half to set it up. You hook in your business bank account because you should have a business bank account. Keep it separate. Don't commingle. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is there's a couple different ways to handle all those transactions when they come into your books. So it is important that somebody is familiar with them and understands that they do need to be reconciled every month.
Okay.
If you have an account, balance sheet accounts, every one that you have should be reconciled at the end of the month. Now, in the event that you're using, say, Venmo, and I pay 2 bills, that's it. There are 2 transactions a month that come out of my Venmo. They hit my bank account. I code them. I know that it's been reconciled because I only have 2 transactions. But if let's say you're like a maker, right? And you have a stand and you go to craft fairs and things like that, and you're very heavy in the Venmo, you do want to reconcile that every month. I have a customer that takes a lot of payments on Square. Every month we go in and we reconcile, what does Square say they made? What do we show got deposited? What were the fees? So over and above just PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle, if you have Square, Stripe, any of those online platforms, you definitely want to make sure that they're familiar with those too.
Great.
Because those are all things that need to be reconciled every month, and everyone's a little different. Everyone connects into the software a little different. There's times where we don't like to connect it because they create more confusion.
Okay.
And that's the auditor in me. Less is more. Every time you touch a number, every time you touch a transaction, you run the risk of messing it up, changing it, having a discrepancy. So having a bookkeeper that understands that all of those things do need to be reconciled every month is really important.
Okay.
But that goes with experience. Again, it's how far into your business are you? How much can you afford?
Yeah. Now let's switch up gears a little bit. Now, if I don't know if I have a bookkeeper, can you specifically, ask this question? Say, can you, as I'm asking the bookkeeper, can you specifically categorize by products and services? What I'm doing. Can you categorize it?
Yes, they should be able to. No, that's a very, one of the big things that I have found is that the reports need to work for the business owner. There's a happy medium with reporting. You need your reports to work for year end with the CPA, right? You're gonna have taxes and things like that. So you want to make sure whatever you give them follows the rules so that they can do your taxes. However, you still need to run your business every month. In order to run your business every month, your CPA may only care what your total income was. How much did you make last year? Let's go easy. Let's say $20,000, right? I hope you made more than 20, but okay, CPA's happy, $20,000 in income, but you need to know, where did that money come from? So one of the big things that we do when we work to onboard new clients, and that should be done by bookkeepers and unfortunately isn't often, is QuickBooks is very basic. Yes, you can use QuickBooks without a whole lot of knowledge. However, it's very basic. It will just say income. What kind of income? So, for example, I have an attorney that we work with, and the CFO gave us some income categories he'd like to see her start using, and we very quickly realized that they don't work for her. And we went back and forth over the last couple of days, and we came up with our subcategories to break down, yes, okay, all of this is trusts, but it's different kinds of trusts. And she, for her purposes, wants to know, in and above the fact that it's trusts that she sold, what kind was it? Was it for a child? Was it, a couple? Was it, and she broke it down even further. Those are really important because when you have things categorized the right way, you know what came in and you know what went out. The P&L, right? What did you make? What did you spend it on? You got your balance sheet. What do you have? What do you owe? And those are really important to be, if you can't read your reports, they're useless. So if you look at a lot of reports, and that would be my homework for anybody listening, is to say, print out your P&L, get your P&L from your bookkeeper. If you get down to the expense section, your first question is going to be, okay, what do I pay in insurance? And I mean all insurance, E&O, liability, automobile, whatever it may be. If they're using QuickBooks without having taken the time to set it up to be clean reporting, business insurance is going to be up in the B's. Liability insurance is going to be down at L because everything's alphabetical in QuickBooks. What you want to see is those things broken out. You want to see insurance with the subcategories. So yes, I paid $500 in insurance last month. Here's how it broke down. Again, because those help make better business decisions when you can truly see and categorize the right way.
Okay. Is that a good, fair question to ask your bookkeeper if you already have one? How can I save on taxes?
Yes, but I'm going to put out a caveat.
Okay.
So, depending upon your bookkeeper. So I am not an accountant, right? I am not by the state of Massachusetts allowed to give tax advice. I am not an accountant. I am not a CPA. I am not a tax preparer. I'm not a EA, any of those things. So for me, my line, and this is how you can tell I'm FINRA trained, is, well, let's talk to your CPA. Okay, good. Let's give them your nice, clean, good reports, and let's ask them if there's some things that you can be doing to help save on taxes. Because there always is. There's always ways to help, But again, if you have good, solid, clean reporting, these decisions and these conversations are much easier. And you can have them any time of the year if you have a bookkeeper and you're closing every month. That's very important. If you are spending the money on a bookkeeper, you should be getting monthly reports. Things should be done on time every month. One of the biggest things we see is someone goes to meet with their tax professional to ask the questions on how can we tax plan. And that's when they realize the bookkeeper hasn't done anything in 3 months. That's a problem.
Yes.
But usually they don't forget to charge them over those 3 months. So make sure, you don't have to know how to do everything in QuickBooks, but make sure it's getting done. Go in and look and make sure you don't have tons of transactions that haven't been coded.
Wow.
So for me, I would say the majority of the bookkeepers are bookkeepers. If they are a bookkeeper and they're not at least an enrolled agent, they should not be giving tax advice. If they are a CPA firm, then that's a different conversation, because there are accountants and CPAs that do prepare taxes, that do offer bookkeeping as a service.
Okay.
Those would be the ones, yes, they should be giving it to you. But if you have a bookkeeper that is not registered with your state to be an accountant and prepare taxes, they should not be giving you tax advice.
Nice. Now, using another example, because you said 20,000, but let's increase it a little bit. Say, if I ask my bookkeeper, I've had him for a while. I said my target income goal is 75,000. How many clients do I need to add within the next 12 months to reach that income goal? And if they categorize things correctly and all of that, would they have an idea how to help me with that?
Sure. Our numbers is our jam, right? That's what we do all day long. So I keep a spreadsheet for my own business. That's a great spreadsheet. And I have all my clients. I have the hours that I bill. I have how much I bill. It calculates out percentage for labor. And the reason why I do that is because same thing, because those are the same questions I have with my spouse is my business partner. He runs actually the revenue side of our business. So that's his big question is like, well, what's your goal? Well, so your goal, if you have your income broken down the right way, so you can see it's all in the right buckets, you know where your money's coming from. I know which money comes into my LLC from bookkeeping. I know what money comes in from some consulting work that my husband Paul does for revenue. I know what income comes in from him as a CRO, a chief revenue officer. We know exactly, we can say, okay, so you're doing great. I want to increase the bookkeeping. Let's see what we've got. I've got my spreadsheet. We know what my average monthly client is. How many clients at this rate do I need to hit my goal? That's not complicated math for a bookkeeper, so they should be able to help walk you through that.
Okay.
Run the reports. And again, it all goes back to, is everything being done timely? If we're having this conversation in August and there's still stuff that hasn't been handled and closed out and tied out from May, that's not a great conversation, because, your numbers, are they accurate? So for us, we always say we can have any conversation you want. Just remember, if it's during the current month and we're looking at current month numbers, obviously we still need to reconcile. And above coding, there's also journal entries that get done depending upon, we go back up to those cash apps, right? Yeah. There's fees for all those things. You might you might have sold $10 on Zelle, but by the time it hits your bank, it's $7.50. The entry needs to be done at the end of the month to account for those fees so that you can gross up your income. So you really sold $10. You only got $7.50 because the rest was in fees. And those are all important conversations that factor into what do you need to be able to grow. And a bookkeeper should be able to get you that information.
Great.
We run reports all the time for our clients when they're trying to figure out, or they're having conversations with maybe a marketing firm, or we should be able to get you all those numbers.
My other question is, are my prices competitive to my competition as it relates to my industry? Would that be something a bookkeeper can help you with? Or?
Yes. So, and I laugh and I sigh because that's my age-old question too. Like, if my price is competitive, mystery shopping is one of my favorite things to do for my clients, and I do it often. I'm happy to do it because that's really a good way to find out if you are competitive. I mean, you can go on, there's websites that tell you, and you can Google and all, but sometimes it's just mystery shopping, right? Go back to the throwbacks of when, Walmart has them. Walmart has mystery shoppers. Go and make sure, I had a client that had a very specific industry and they really were unsure. And you have to remember when you're pricing, just like anything, it also depends upon a few things, right? So my prices are not going to be the same as a new bookkeeper that's starting out. But my prices are also not going to be the same as one of the bigger accounting firms, especially the ones that are closer to the city.
Okay.
I should land somewhere in the middle. That's what makes me competitive. And the reason why I should be more than some others, but less than the accounting firms is I'm not an accountant. I don't do your taxes. I don't have a huge team of people in a big, office outside of Boston. But I do have a team, and I do come from a very, very strong background. I won awards at these companies for doing my job and doing it well. So it's like anything, when you're trying to price yourself, always remember your value, and always remember that it might not be as high as somebody, but it shouldn't be as low as everyone either. I think a lot of people, unless you're just starting out, land in the middle, unless you have something that sets you apart, that makes you charge, commands the higher rate.
Right. Okay.
Or, the newer bookkeepers, like when someone calls and they have a budget of $300 a month, I'm probably not going to be the bookkeeper for you. That's just, and that's not, we were at one time. We've just gotten to a point where our clients are larger companies.
Yeah.
We've gone from the smaller mom and pop shops to, like I said, our largest client is over $20 million a year. So, multiple employees, payroll journal entries, we help with payroll. Mystery shopping is something that is great. You can't mystery shop yourself, right? It's hard. People go, oh, I know you, Justice. Don't call me and ask me what I'm charging. But if I call, I'm Kate Whitteman calling because, I'm inquiring about your services. I'm going on your website and looking it over. So yeah, I think that your bookkeeper should be a partner in your business. And that's a really, when you're reviewing and looking for a bookkeeper, I think that if you don't feel that they're a partner in your business, then they might not be a good fit, because, we help with giving you the tools to make decisions quickly, garbage in, garbage out. So if I'm getting good stuff from you, I should be able to give you really good reports. Yeah. If you're giving me nothing, I'm not going to be able to give you quality reporting. Yeah. But the quality reporting is key because, I have a client that came back. We had talked before COVID, and I had helped her clean some stuff up, and COVID hit, and I'm like, listen, don't spend the money on me right now. Like, just survive. She did great. She came back. She's working with us again. I'm very excited about it. And, I'm not the least expensive bookkeeper that she talked to. We are more expensive, and I am more expensive than when I talked to her 5 years ago. But what brought her back is she feels that my team brings experience that she needs. We bring organization. I have tools in my own company in place for redundancy. Yeah. Very important. Remember, if you hire one person and they have the flu and they're down for 2 weeks, all work stops. Yeah. If you can be okay with that, then that's the right fit for you. And I think for a solopreneur, that's a really good place to be. But as you start getting bigger, you want to start looking at the mid-size firms like mine, where we have a couple people on staff. We have redundancy in place. So I think those factors all need to go in when you're pricing. Because, and then again, it also is, what is your life experience? Yes, you all have the same certifications, but you ran XYZ company for 10 years and your competition hasn't, then you should command a higher price. Because you have more experience, and experience does matter. Just like if you're going for a W-2 job, not everybody gets the same pay because everybody comes in. That's why there's a scale starting at, maybe there's a range, 50 to 60. So you might be on the 60 range because of your experience. But I think calling around and mystery shopping, and then obviously remembering ask them why pick you? Why would I pick you? And that's a good way to say, that's where you can say, like for me, I can say, because I come with 2 Fortune 50, companies behind me, both would hire me back tomorrow. I know that because I still talk to my bosses. Okay. Those are the types of things that help us command a better price. One of my staff members, she owned a business with her husband for 20 years. She's been doing bookkeeping for probably 35 years. She's on the board of selectmen in her town. Like, we've got a lot going on to bring to the table. And I think that all factors into your price.
Oh, great. Excellent. Excellent. Do you want
to
know
your worth,
You got, and that's important. You got to know your work and know your competition.
That's right.
How to brand yourself and market yourself. But I like that question. Why choose me? Why pick me? I like that.
Why pick me? I mean, I think I'm pretty funny. I think we're easy to work with. I mean, that's why you should pick us. But again, like, that's what it goes back to. Like, do you like the person?
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoy talking to them, you feel like they're competent, you feel like they're going to be communicative. Communication is key, especially in what I do.
Yes.
If you find it very, very difficult to talk to them, then they're probably not a really good fit for you.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Do you want to share anything else as we conclude this episode today?
Oh, gosh, I'm just trying to think. I would say just a reminder to everybody listening, because I know you've got a lot of business owners and such that are listening in. Make sure you're not commingling. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, know your numbers. It's very important. If you don't know your numbers, don't be embarrassed to ask for help. A lot of the clients that have come to us have said the same thing. I sat in a meeting last week, same thing. Oh, I'm just so embarrassed. And we're like, why? They're like, these books are a mess. I'm like, oh man, these aren't the worst. I've busted people for money laundering. Trust me. There's nothing that I'm going to see in your books that is going to be like, wow, I can't believe that. Don't not have good bookkeeping because you're embarrassed because it fell behind. Mm-hmm. You are good at what you do as your business owner. Bookkeepers are good at what bookkeepers do, which is bookkeeping, right? Mm-hmm. So don't avoid getting help because you don't want someone to see that your books are a mess. So what? We like cleanup jobs.
That's right.
It's fine.
That's right.
I don't mind it. Hey, it's billable hours, right?
That's right. That's it.
I'll clean them up for you. Bring it on over. But that would be my biggest thing is don't put off getting help because you're embarrassed about the state of your finances. Because think back, it was just a few short years ago when COVID hit, when very quickly people needed to be able to apply for loans.
That's right.
And there was a big scramble. And I can tell you, not a single one of my customers had to scramble. Everybody got the reports they needed very quickly because I closed every month. I did all the entries every month. Payroll was reconciled every month. It was like, sure, what months do you need? Here you go, boom, done.
Yeah.
Whereas other bookkeepers I know don't do that. Their business owner clients were all scrambling because they didn't have clean numbers. So you never know when you're going to have to make a tough decision. And the only way to make some tough decisions are to have good numbers. So get the help you need and don't be afraid to say you need help. It's okay. Yeah. We all need help with something.
That's right. So do a little help doesn't hurt. That's right.
Nope.
Well, again, thank you, Kate, for being our guest on the Growth Matters podcast and sharing the benefits of having a bookkeeper. Thank you for listening.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the Growth Matters podcast. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with the broader community. Until the next time, stay focused, prepare, execute, and celebrate the victories as you continue to grow and develop in every area of your life. I'll see you at the next one. Peace. I am your host, Justice.